Have you also been hoarding your beautiful washi tapes? Let's see how we can use them by creating fun mixed media journaling cards. Welcome, it's Barbara from Vienna, Austria. If you're anything like me, you have a washi tape collection which you love, but don't get enough use out of. So today I wanted to create mixed media journaling cards using some of our gorgeous washi. This is a collaboration put together by Anne from Meadow Book March. I will put Anne's Instagram and YouTube channel in the description box below. So she came up with a 30-day prompt list for March and 30 Instagrammers and YouTubers following one of the prompts each day. You can also find the link for the prompt list in the description box below. So the prompt I'm doing is washi tape and cards. And you are welcome to participate in this fun prompt challenge even after March using the hashtag MeadowBookMarch. I'm going to make 2 journaling cards and I want to use washi both for the background and for the focal point. For the focal points, I'm going to choose this and this and this one. And for the background washi, I want some thinner ones. Some of these Team Holtz ones. There's this one. Then even thinner, this alphabet one. This thin one. And maybe one more. I'm not sure yet how many exactly I'll be using. I'll use this one. For a card base, I'm using some packaging. So I'm going to cut out 2 rectangles. They don't have to be the same exact size. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so I have my 2 rectangles. I'm going to cover one of these with vintage book pages. I'll just add some glue. Just to make it a little bit more interesting, I'm adding 2 different kinds of book pages. And on the second one, I'm going to add a piece of vintage sewing pattern. And then I'm going to cut around them to get rid of any excess. And then I always like to check that my corners are glued down all the way and add some more glue if necessary. Next, I'm going to add some white gesso. I'm going to do this using a brayer. You can also do it using a spatula or a paintbrush or any tool that you have. So these are dry now, and it's beautiful how you can still see the paper underneath. So if your gesso is too thick, you can always thin it down by spraying some water over your card before it dries. I'm going to turn this like this. Next, I want to add the washi tape. And since washi is not meant to stick permanently, we need to add some glue or some medium underneath to make sure they don't come off over the years. I'm going to use this Liquitex matte medium. You can also just use a glue. I'm going to use matte medium. I don't like anything glossy, and most glue sticks have a bit of a gloss to them once they're dry, so I prefer this. Put way too much. Okay, I'm going to take a piece of washi, and you can also tear it lengthwise to give it a more interesting shape. Straight down the middle, which is not what I wanted, but oh well, I'm just going to go with it now. That never happens when you want it to happen. Let's try that again. Okay, here it's a bit more irregular now. So let's take a different one for the other card. Then let's add some thinner washi. And then I'm going to cover that with some more matte medium, just to make sure it's really stuck down well. Mod Podge is really good for this as well. Let's put these to the side to let them dry. And in the meantime, we can work on our focal points. So I have just 2 scraps of paper. This is approximately 160 GSM, and this is probably around 220 or something. Doesn't matter. I just wanted something a little bit more heavy than a regular copy paper. And I'm going to cover these with washi tape. So I'm going to use this washi. Unfortunately, I cannot link this for you. I bought this years ago from AliExpress. The link no longer works. So again, I'm going to adhere this with my glue stick. And for this one, I'm going to use these 2. This one, I believe I can link for you. If I find a link for this washi, I will put it in the description box for you below. This is one of the self-adhesive ones, but they usually don't stick well at all. And then let's add a strip of this one. This one I cannot link because this one was in a subscription box from the Your Creative Studio. So you can combine any washes you want. If you don't have wide washes, you just add a few strips of the thinner washi next to each other. So for one of these, I'm going to use a die cut. This is a butterfly that came with my Big Shot fold away die cut machine. Maybe you have a punch that you can use, but if you have neither, I'm going to do an option here where I'm just going to hand draw something. So I'm going to run this through my die cut machine probably 2 or 3 times, depending on how many I can fit here. And on this one, I'm going to just draw some hearts. Different sizes. Just so I have options. I don't know yet how many I'm going to use. So these I can just cut out with my scissors. And then I'll take this to my die cut machine. I almost forgot one step. This is optional. I'm going to add some clear gesso on these first. I think that the colors I'm going to add in the next step are going to be more vibrant with clear gesso. I'm not sure, I actually haven't tried it, but I know it works without also. So don't worry if you don't have clear gesso. To give these a little bit more color, I'm going to use Distress Oxides for these, and I'm going to use watercolor for these. So the Distress Oxides I want to use are Seedless Preserves, which is my newest purchase. I'm very excited about this one. Then the Walnut Stain, probably to tone it down a little bit, we'll see. And Rusty Hinge. So let's start off with the Seedless Preserves. And I'm simply going to take the ink pad or the oxide pad and rub it on the butterflies. Not everywhere, just in some parts. We're going to mist this with water, so it's going to spread out anyway. We can let that move a little bit as it wants. So I'm going to take my watercolors. These happen to be White Nights artist grade. They are super pigmented. You use whatever you have. I'm going to spray it a little bit to activate it. I want to get this deep purple here. Whoa, this is really, really purple. Yeah, very pigmented. And again, I'm going to mist them to make that spread a little bit more. Wow, that looks amazing. Should use my tweezers. Okay, we'll let everything dry. While those dry, we can continue with our backgrounds, which are pretty much dry in the meantime. And I want to add some stamping. The first stamp I want to add is this beautiful crackle stamp from Crafty Individuals in the UK. I will link their site down below for you. This one is called CI 116. Please note that they come unmounted, meaning you will just get this red part and you will have to buy this mounting foam separately, but they have both in the store. And then you just need to glue them together and cut them. So it's a little extra work, but it's worth it because they have such beautiful stamps. And I'm using permanent archival ink from Ranger. I don't know yet what else I'll be adding on top. Maybe something fluid, and I don't want my ink to smear. And I'm just rolling the stamp. I don't want a perfect like rectangle. I just want to cover the background more or less randomly. Just to add a bit more interest. You can use any stamp you have for the background. Doesn't have to be crackling. Anything that could provide a little bit more interest. That's what that looks like. Next, I want to add some script. This is also from Crafty Individuals, not sponsored. I bought them myself. This is called CI 214. And this time I'm going to concentrate more on this area here, because this is where I want the attention to go to most. So basically alongside the washi tape. And lastly, I'm going to add this beautiful UPS vintage number stamp. Again, I'm sticking to the washi tape area to really accent that. Next, I want to add a little bit of stenciling. For one of these, I'm going to use Tim Holtz Honeycomb THS005. And this one unfortunately doesn't have a number here. It's also Tim Holtz. It's the one with the alphabet and these diamonds. And depending on how thick you want your stenciling, you could either just use gesso if it's not too thin, or if you want something thicker and you don't have texture paste, you can always add either sand or starch or baby powder to your gesso. I have some old starch here, which has already expired, so that's perfect. So rather than throwing that out, I can use it in my crafts. And you can just see how much you need. You can just add a little and then keep adding until you're happy with the consistency. I don't want mine too thick actually, so I think that was just fine. Looks like it has a really nice consistency now. So there's one. And there's number two. And since I didn't want to waste the rest of my mixture here, I just put it on a vintage book page for a future project. While that dries, let's get back to our focal points. So for the butterflies, I want to add some rusty hinge distress oxide with the same method. It's important to wait until the first layer has dried, otherwise you will damage your oxide ink pad. We don't want that. So again, we'll spritz these, and of course this will also activate the seedless preserves that we put on before, because of course it's water soluble. Again, we'll just let that dry. And on this one, I'm going to add this color. Oh, this is very dark. Again, let's let that move a little bit. These are dry in the meantime, and I'm happy with the way they look, so these are done. These I'm not happy with yet because I don't like this pinky color, so I'm going to mute that down with some walnut stain. Same procedure as before. And since I like the dark of this here, I'm going to also add some Black Suit Distress ink. Okay, I just ruined this one. Good job. Yeah, they are quite delicate. Maybe we can still salvage that, but I don't think I'll need 3 for this project anyway. So these are dry. Let's add some color to these as well in the background. So this is our watercolor one. I'm going to add a bit of this color here. And again, we're going to spray this and let it run. And on this one, I'll try some frayed burlap distress oxide. I want this moving a little bit more. So this is what they look like once they're dry. So this is the watercolor one. And this is the one with the distress oxide frayed burlap. So let's think about the placement of the hearts. I think I'm going to stick to this vertical line here and place the hearts on that line. 3 is probably a good number, so maybe I'll stagger them. Put the biggest one right here where that intersection is, and then take a middle-sized one and the smallest one. Keep these for another project. Let's see if we want to add a little bit more texture. For example, we could see what it would look like if we add some cheesecloth underneath. Let's fray that a little bit. And then we can also see what it would look like if we add some more sewing thread. This is like what you would use on your sewing machine, just for some additional contrast. Yep, I think that will work. So I'm going to glue all of this down, and once the glue is dry, I'm going to actually take this to my sewing machine and stitch right through the middle. I actually now only glued down the cheesecloth with some PVA glue. And once that has dried, I will just take this to my sewing machine. I've just placed the black thread on top without sewing it, without gluing it. And I'm actually only going to place the hearts down and then just go straight to the sewing machine without gluing them. That's just going to be quicker because I don't have to wait for more glue to dry. So I've sewn down right here with a running stitch, and now we can just bend these halves up a little bit to make it more 3D. I'm still not happy with the coloring of my butterflies. I think this is much nicer with the purple, so I'm just going to add some watercolor purple here as well. Of course, it's going to look different because this was white underneath and this was brown and tan. And obviously it's going to mix with the distress oxide that's underneath. These are really soaking now. Of course, these are... I really need to be careful not to ruin these now because they are so delicate. These really need to dry well. These are now dry, and I think they have a much nicer contrast now. When we put them here, they really pull your attention. So I think that was an important step. So again, I want to add one here where the cross is. Maybe like this. And the question is, where do we put the other one? I don't think I want to put it like that. Here, I think it would be more dynamic if it's on the other side. Don't really want it down here. Maybe like that. And I'm going to glue these down, also adding some black bunched up thread underneath. So no sewing on this card. Again, I'm just using my PVA glue. And I'm not going to glue down the whole butterfly, just the middle part, so that the wings can stand up a little bit. Then I want to add some splatters. Of course I do. I have here a mixture of different dark paints, so it's not going to be black, but it's going to be probably more like a brownish color, which is totally fine. Then I want to add sentiments to both of these. On this one, I want to add the Wander. This is from my own shop. I will link these for you below. They're just generic sentiments. And I'm going to edge that with my braid furlap directly from the ink pad, because I want a nice crisp edge. I don't know if you can see that. And I'm going to add that so that we have a triangle here. And on the right one, I'm going to add follow your, yes, you guessed it, heart. Then I'm going to take my frayed burlap and edge the cards. And for the final touch, I also want to add some white splatters, especially on the hearts and the butterflies. I have some gesso here from Golden, which is almost completely dried up. So instead of throwing that out, I'm just going to add some water. And I think this should work well for splatters. I'm going to cover up my words. I don't want those splattered. Now the only thing that's left to do is to give these cards a backside. I have these 2 book pages from a book I found at my Goodwill. I sprayed them with coffee to make them a little bit warmer and to fit more to the fronts. So I'm just going to trace the size, and then I'm going to add some stamping to it. For our heart card backside, I'm going to use this stamp. It's from Knorr Prandel. I'm not sure where you can find this. I bought this locally a few years ago. I'm going to use my frayed burlap again. I don't want the image to be dark because I want to be able to write over this. And where do we put it? I'm going to put it in the right corner. Not a perfect impression, but it's fine. And for our butterfly tag, I have this beautiful Tim Holtz stamp. I found this at a craft fair locally. And even though I've inked up the edges here already, I'm going to go around one more time to make sure that I also get all of the edges in between the 2 layers. So these are the final results. So this one was done with watercolors, and this one was done mostly with distressed oxides, but then of course we added the watercolor on the butterflies. And these are the back sides. And if you enjoyed this video, you might also enjoy this one right here. Mwah! Mwah!